Welcome to today's deep dive. We're incredibly glad you decided to join us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in.
Whether you are, prepping for a communication-focused meeting, catching up on some professional development, or you're just genuinely curious about the hidden mechanics of the language you use every single day.
You are exactly where you need to be.
Exactly. Today, our mission is to examine a concept that sits right out in the open. It's really just hiding in plain sight within almost every conversation you have.
It really is.
We are looking at a stack of notes focused entirely on unpacking the mechanics, the shifting meanings, and the precise usage of a single English word.
Yeah.
And that word is since.
It's a deceptively simple topic, but when you really drill down into it, it gets at the core of how we structure our thoughts.
Right.
I mean, we use this specific word constantly, but we rarely pause to consider the underlying architectural work it does within a sentence.
Yeah, we just take it for granted.
We do. So our goal today is to pull back the curtain on this highly flexible piece of vocabulary. We want to explore how it fundamentally shifts between establishing chronological timelines and
Building logical arguments.
exactly, depending entirely on the grammatical environment around it.
The fascinating premise we're exploring today is how a single five-letter word can operate as both a time traveler and a logic puzzle.
A temporal anchor and a logical hinge.
Yes. Its entire function is dictated by context. So we're going to look at the three primary ways this word operates, breaking down the specific grammatical mechanisms that allow it to shift its identity without causing miscommunication.
Because that's the risk, right? Miscommunication.
Huge risk. Understanding these nuances isn't just about passing a grammar test. It is about refining how you convey complex ideas in your everyday life.
And for anyone who operates in a professional environment where clarity is paramount.
Which is most of us.
Right, which is most of us. Understanding these distinct structural differences is crucial. If the verb tenses surrounding this word aren't aligned correctly, the intended meaning of your sentence can become really ambiguous.
You risk confusing a timeline of events with a sequence of logical reasoning.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're going to start with the first and perhaps the most universally recognized application of the word from our notes.
The time marker.
Yes, since operating strictly as a time marker. In this capacity, it serves as a bridge, anchoring a past event directly to the present moment.
The defining rule for this specific usage is that it refers to a starting point in the past that continues right up until now.
Right up to the second you're speaking.
Right. And to achieve this continuous link, there is a necessary grammatical pairing. When functioning as this kind of time marker, the word is almost exclusively paired with the present perfect tense.
Present perfect tense. Let's really hammer that home.
It's vital. That specific verb structure is what allows the sentence to stretch across time rather than just pointing to an isolated event that has already ended.
Okay, let's really look at the mechanics of that because the present perfect tense is the engine driving the entire concept here. Let's take one of the core examples from our source material.
Okay.
The sentence is, I have lived in this city since 2015.
A very standard sentence.
Super standard. On the surface, it's just a basic biographical statement. But structurally, it's doing two things at once. First, you have the phrase, I have lived.
Which establishes an ongoing state of being.
Right. But without a marker, that ongoing state lacks a foundation. You're just floating in time.
Yes, it needs grounding.
Then you drop the anchor, 2015. That is the definitive starting point in the past.
What's fascinating here is how the preposition dictates the reality of the present moment.
How do you mean?
Well, let's imagine you altered that sentence slightly and removed the present perfect tense.
Okay.
If someone said, I lived in this city in 2015.
Oh, right. Using in instead of since and lived instead of have lived.
Exactly. The listener immediately understands that the action is closed. It's a completed chapter.
The person probably doesn't live there anymore.
Very likely. But by introducing I have lived and combining it with since 2015, the speaker creates a continuous, uninterrupted line from that specific year all the way to the second they are speaking.
The word confirms that the timeline remains active.
It does. It proves it's still true.
It's a highly efficient way to deliver information. You don't have to say, I moved to this city in 2015 and I am currently still living in this city today.
That would be exhausting.
It would. The linguistic architecture does that consolidation for you. Let's look at another example we have from the notes.
Sure.
She has worked here since Monday.
Okay, yes.
It operates on the exact same framework as the 2015 example, but it shifts the type of temporal anchor being used.
Right. In the first instance, the anchor was a specific year, a major calendar milestone.
Like a hard coordinate.
Exactly. Here, the anchor is just a day of the week. But the grammatical formula remains completely unbroken.
We see the present perfect tense again.
Yes. She has worked. That communicates the ongoing professional engagement. And the starting line for that engagement is firmly set at Monday.
It is so interesting to think about the cognitive processing happening on the listener's end when they hear that.
Oh, for sure.
When you hear, she has worked here since Monday, your brain automatically calculates the duration.
It does the math.
Right. It recognizes Monday as the start, verifies that the action is still happening today, and implies the period of time in between all without the speaker having to explicitly define the number of days.
The preposition forces the listener to calculate the span of time.
And the strictness of the verb tense is what makes that calculation possible, isn't it?
Completely. If someone were to say, she works here since Monday,
Oh, that sounds so wrong.
it feels structurally unstable, doesn't it? Works is simple present tense. It doesn't have the capacity to reach back to Monday.
It's stuck in today.
Exactly. The present perfect has worked is uniquely designed to stretch backward. It's the linguistic equivalent of a measuring tape.
I love that. Measuring tape. That actually brings us to the third example in this initial category, which kind of tests the flexibility of that measuring tape.
Let's hear it.
The sentence is, they have known each other since childhood. This one stands out because the anchor is fundamentally different from a year or a day of the week.
It really does stand out. And it highlights how abstract language can be while still adhering to really rigid rules.
Right, because childhood isn't a date.
Exactly. Childhood is not a fixed universal coordinate on a calendar. It's a conceptual phase of life.
And its exact boundaries vary from person to person. My childhood time frame is different from yours.
Exactly. Yet grammatically, the sentence treats childhood with the exact same mathematical precision as 2015 or Monday.
It forces a vague, subjective noun to act as a definitive starting line in the past.
It does. And once again, we see the present perfect tense doing the heavy lifting at the beginning. They have known each other.
That's the ongoing state of familiarity.
Right. When did that state begin? Sometime in the conceptual phase of childhood.
Is it still true today?
Yes. The rule established in our notes holds up perfectly across all three of these variations. Whether you're using a fixed year, a recurring day, or an abstract life phase, the word establishes when an action began and confirms it remains true right now.
It really is a precise formula. Present perfect tense plus the specific preposition plus a past starting point results in an ongoing reality.
It provides a very reliable framework for communicating duration and continuity in a single breath.
Okay, so that covers the first major application, using the word as a time marker pointing to a static noun or date. But our source material moves us into a second category now.
It does, yes.
It feels like a natural evolution of the first concept, but structurally, it introduces a whole new layer of complexity. We are moving into the realm of clauses.
This is a significant shift. Well, we're moving from pointing at a static anchor, like a date on a calendar, to pointing at a dynamic event.
Okay.
The structure allows the word to introduce an entire time clause. Instead of just pairing it with a noun, you are actually connecting two distinct conjugated verbs.
You're linking two actions together.
Exactly.
It requires a bit more conversational agility. Let's look at the example provided in the notes to illustrate this evolution.
Right.
I have felt better since I started exercise.
A great example.
When you dissect the dual action nature of this sentence, you really see the structural complexity at play. You have two entirely different verb tenses operating on either side of the hinge.
It raises a really important question about how we track multiple timelines simultaneously. Let's break down the two halves.
Let's do it.
First, you have, I have felt better. As we've established, that is the present perfect tense.
Right, it denotes an ongoing, continuous reality.
The person feels better right now, and that feeling extends backward. But then we cross the hinge and look at the second half.
I started exercising. That second half is entirely in the simple past tense. It's a completed action.
Exactly. The act of starting to exercise happened once at a specific moment in the past, and it is over.
You don't keep starting. You just start once.
Right. So the sentence is asking the listener to process a continuous, ongoing state of feeling better and anchor it not to a date, but to the exact historical moment that the single action of starting to exercise occurred.
It's a really subtle but brilliant linguistic maneuver.
It is.
The ongoing reality continues up to the present moment, but its origin point is a past catalyst.
The word connects a continuous feeling to a completed action.
We have another great example of this dynamic from our notes. We have been friends since we met at school.
This follows the exact same dual verb architecture.
Action 1. We have been friends.
Present perfect tense, indicating an ongoing state of friendship that is active right now.
Action 2. We met at school.
Simple past tense, indicating a singular, completed event.
And the grammatical hinge connects the two, informing the listener that the ongoing timeline of the friendship was initiated at the exact moment of that past introduction.
It acts as the connective tissue between a past event and a present reality.
So we are still fundamentally operating within the realm of chronological time, just like the first category.
Yes, very much so.
The difference is that we are using an entire phrase, a clause with its own subject and verb, to define that point in time rather than relying on a standalone noun.
And the tension between those two verb tenses is what makes the sentence function.
Tension is a good word for it.
Yeah, if a speaker fails to maintain that specific tension, the communication breaks down entirely.
Give me an example of that breaking down.
Okay, if someone says, we are friends since we meet at school.
Oh, yeah. That's confusing.
Right. Using present tense for both actions leaves the listener trying to decipher the timeline. The grammatical cues that separate the ongoing reality from the past catalyst are just missing.
So the clause demands that specific combination of present perfect and simple past to paint an accurate picture.
It really requires a subconscious mastery of verb alignment. You have to know precisely where you are on the timeline before you even begin speaking.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
I was hoping we'd get here.
Up to this point, we have been meticulously mapping out timelines. We've anchored present realities to past dates, and we've linked ongoing states to past catalysts.
We've been all about the clock and the calendar.
Exactly. But our source material reveals a complete paradigm shift. The word we've been analyzing doesn't just manage time.
No, it doesn't.
It has an alternate identity where it completely abandons the chronological timeline and operates entirely within the realm of reason.
This is a profound conceptual leap.
It's huge.
The notes clarify that this single word can function as a direct synonym for because.
Because.
Yes. In this capacity, it is used to introduce a reason or a justification. We are no longer discussing when an action started or how long a state of being has endured.
The framework of past, present, and future is completely discarded.
Completely. We are operating purely in the space of logical causation.
It is remarkable that the exact same sequence of letters, pronounced the exact same way, can trigger such a drastically different cognitive response in the listener.
It really is.
Let's look at the first example provided for this category. Since it was raining, we stayed at home.
Okay, let's look at that.
The structural markers we've relied on for the past 10 minutes are entirely absent here.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the listener's ability to parse context becomes incredibly apparent. Let's look at the verb tenses in that example. Since it was raining, we stayed at home.
Okay, both verbs was raining
Mm-hmm.
and stayed are in the past tense.
Exactly. There is no present perfect tense to stretch the action into the present moment. The grammatical signals that indicate a continuous timeline simply aren't there.
And because those temporal signals are missing, the listener's brain instantly discards the idea of a timeline.
It knows better.
The brain recognizes that since isn't answering the question of when anymore. It's answering the question of why.
The sentence is presenting a logical premise and a subsequent conclusion.
Because it was raining, we stayed at home. The weather is the cause, and staying home is the effect.
It fundamentally rewrites the relationship between the two halves of the sentence.
How do you mean? Compare it for us.
Well, in the time clauses we discussed earlier, the second half of the sentence was the catalyst that started a timeline.
Right. I started exercising.
Exactly. Here, the first half of the sentence is the logical justification for the second half's action. The dependency shifts from chronological to rational.
That makes perfect sense. We have one more example that really highlights this shift away from the timeline, bringing the cause and effect structure directly into the present moment.
Let's hear it.
Since you are here, you can help me with this task.
This is perhaps the clearest demonstration of the word's flexibility.
It's so immediate.
Look at the absolute lack of past tense. You are here is present tense. You can help me is present tense.
There's zero historical anchoring happening in this sentence.
None. It is entirely grounded in the immediate reality of the current moment.
The logic is highly direct. The cause, your physical presence in this room right now. The effect, your ability to assist with the task at hand.
It is pure, unfiltered reasoning. It proves that the word is perfectly capable of operating without any reference to the past whatsoever.
It demands a high level of linguistic agility from both the speaker and the listener.
It does. As a communicator, you're constantly deploying these different structures, trusting that the person listening will correctly interpret the surrounding grammatical clues. We're trusting them to recognize that since you are here operates on a completely different mechanical level than since 2015.
The word effectively shapeshifts based entirely on the company it keeps.
That's a great way to put it.
If it's sitting next to the present perfect tense, it puts on its hard hat and starts building a timeline. If it's sitting next to a pair of present tense verbs, it puts on a lab coat and starts laying out logical causation. And the listener decodes all of this instantly.
Which is why the conclusion of our source material emphasizes the importance of understanding these distinctions.
It's so critical.
You cannot rely on a single static definition for vocabulary that serves multiple functions. True fluency, whether you're acquiring the language or just trying to hone your professional communication, requires an awareness of these underlying mechanics.
You have to understand how the architecture of time fundamentally differs from the architecture of reason.
And how a single preposition navigates both spaces.
It serves two very different, very demanding masters. On one hand, it manages chronological continuity, establishing exactly when an ongoing state of being began.
Right.
On the other hand, it manages logical justification, establishing exactly why a specific action was taken.
We've examined it as a straightforward time marker pointing to a calendar date.
We've explored its role as a complex hinge connecting two dynamic actions.
And we've seen it abandon time entirely to establish clear cause and effect reasoning.
So what does this all mean for you as a communicator?
So what does this all mean? The takeaway here is about intentionality and practice.
Intentionality.
The notes suggest that internalizing these distinct meanings requires actively mapping these examples onto your own communication habits. You have to be deliberate about your verb choices.
Make a choice, don't just guess.
Right. When you want to convey duration, you must actively construct sentences using the present perfect tense, ensuring that your temporal anchor holds firm.
And when you want to convey a logical argument.
You must ensure your cause and effect structure is clear and unclouded by confusing timelines. Moving from theoretical understanding to practical application requires that level of grammatical mindfulness.
It is about moving from an instinctual use of language to a deliberate construction of meaning.
Exactly.
When you recognize the mechanics at play, you gain far more control over the clarity of your message. You aren't just hoping the listener understands your timeline or your logic.
You're actively building a sentence that guarantees they will.
Before we wrap up, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you transition back into your day. We've just spent a significant amount of time slowly, methodically dissecting the rules, the clauses, and the verb tenses required to make sense of this one specific word.
A lot of time.
But consider the sheer, almost incomprehensible processing power of the human brain during a casual conversation.
It's staggering.
In fluid, rapid-fire dialogue, your mind doesn't pause to consciously analyze whether the speaker just used the present perfect or the simple past tense.
Right, you don't stop and diagram the sentence.
Your brain instantly processes the sentence, scans the surrounding context, and flawlessly toggles between the highly complex concepts of chronological continuity and logical causation in a fraction of a millisecond.
A fraction of a millisecond.
You don't have to consciously think about these rules because your cognitive architecture decodes the syntax, context, and vocabulary simultaneously in real time.
It is an astonishing display of continuous computation.
That we engage in effortlessly every single day, entirely based on the context surrounding a few small letters.
It is a remarkable cognitive feat, and exploring the mechanics behind it only deepens your appreciation for the complexities of everyday communication.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you walk away with a sharper understanding of the linguistic tools at your disposal, and that you feel more equipped to navigate the subtle shifts between time and reason in your own conversations. Take care, keep exploring the structures around you, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. See you next time.